Well, good day, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Kevin's Idaho Kitchen.
Idaho Kitchen.
Idaho
right.
Kitchen. And what we have here are 3 Royal typewriters from mid-century.
Yes, definitely from mid-century modern.
Mid-century modern, maybe. And they're all roughly grayish colored.
Yes.
And they're all in chronological order of their build, date of build, right?
Yes.
Date of manufacture. Take us through and just tell us year and model of what each one of these is.
So this one here is a 1959 Royal Heritage, which was a marketing for Montgomery Award of the Royal Futura.
Okay.
And so definitely early mid-century modern as far as when the real transition was making, which is approximately 1960. So this is 1959. Then we have the Royal Empress.
Yep.
Which was, and this is a 1962 model.
All right.
And then over here we have the Royal Safari, which gets us to the end of the mid-century modern, which is a 1965 model.
Ah, very good. So 59, 62, 65.
Right.
2 portable typewriters, 1 office standard typewriter,
That's right.
All 3 manual typewriters, all 3 approximately grayish, roughly in color.
Right. They call the one on the Empress fawn gray, according to the typewriter database, and the Royal Safari looks like it's the same fawn gray here, and then this is gray here, and it is just a little bit darker than the other 2.
And it's a textured paint rather than glossy.
Right. Those are glossy. This has a little bit of a texture.
Okay, well, we're going to just talk a little bit about the Royal lineup, the evolution, and the features, and maybe what would be the difference between collecting one or the other, shall we?
Sure.
Let's do it. Stay tuned. Well, okay, so let's start with the Heritage.
The Heritage. So this was a model that they came out with. Basically, they had a Heritage and a Heritage Deluxe, and it was the Futura 800 model that they had marketed before, which was a rebody, essentially, of the Royal Quiet Deluxe series.
Okay. Right.
This wonderful gray color, which a lot of people, they like the brighter colors, but this was muted. And the only thing it has difference from the Deluxe is it doesn't have the paper fingers coming up and back.
Right.
But it has the number 1 key, which was added to the keyboard, and it has virtually everything else that they had on those models. It's really a nice model typewriter.
Right, and so I noticed that it has, I'm going to kind of jump over this one for a second.
That's a large jump.
Yes, it's a large jump, because the Safari has similar controls, like the tabulator, they call it the column button here.
And they just call it the tab here.
But they also have the magic column set, which is your tab set, and then a column clear, which is tab clear, and that one just says magic column set also, but just clear on the other side.
Right.
And in spite of the age difference, 59 versus 65, they both have a modern keyboard with a number 1 exclamation mark plus equals.
Right.
Right.
And,
which is interesting because they're portables.
Right, and then I always give the excuse on the Safari that it has a number 1 is because it has script typeface. And so you can't use the L as a number 1 because it'd be a looped L, cursive typeface.
Cursive, yeah.
But the Heritage has a standard pica typeface, but it still has the number 1.
Right. So it's almost like that lineup, and I can't remember if the later QDLs had a number 1. I think they did.
It could be. They probably
So
came out.
it was probably inherited from the QDL lineup that they already had that more modern keyboard, but it's interesting now, you go to the Empress. And the Empress is a professionally oriented typewriter, really.
Business typewriter.
Business typewriter, but it's lacking the number 1 key. And in the previous video in the typewriter series, we talked about this typewriter, and its heritage is from all the way back to the Royal 10.
Royal 10,
It's the, really post KMM, because it's magic margin. It's like the mechanics of it, like the number of slots in the segment and all that is fixed for a certain number of type bars, certain number of keys, right? So they, I guess, didn't want to, maybe they already had millions of those castings made or machined.
They didn't want to retool for it.
Retool or something, right?
Where at some point in probably the QDL line, which comes from going back to the portable line, the O's and the OTs, and in the before World War II, at some point in the portable line, they changed the segment casting or whatever, so it would take more keys. Because one of the things that was lacking on a lot of the earlier portables was not only the 1 and the exclamation mark, but they also the plus and the equal sign.
Yes, right.
And they added that, and you notice that all 3 of these typers have the plus and equal sign.
Yes, that's right.
So they did add that to the business machine because it's difficult to make a plus sign or an equal sign as a composite letter.
Right.
And
so another thing all 3 machines have, of course, is the magic margin feature, right, for margin setting. And on the case of the portables, it's the push button margin settings on top, which, and if you get to this Safari stage, they're so far on top that they could easily be pushed down. In fact, some of us have actually acquired typewriters from thrift stores just because the carriage won't move.
Right, the carriage won't move because the magic margin, the typewriter is sitting like this, and somebody pressed that, and then all of a sudden, it won't go past that.
It won't go past that, right?
It's stuck. It won't go past. What's going on here?
Whereas the lever style magic margin on the bigger machine is directly from the KMM kind of design, right? And I actually like that. I like that the lever pull system a little bit better than the push button.
Right, and I like this one a little bit better than a KMM, because we saw one today, and it was in the local bookstore, and they had it for people to play with and stuff. And it is where it's you lock it open and then you move it around, and then you have to manually push it back. Whereas on this one here, when you bring it up, it's spring loaded. It pops back automatically. So to make the adjustment, you have to hold it. And then let go.
Then let go, right.
Whereas you have to, that one there, you make the adjustment, and then you have to push it back. So I kind of like this better because it's a little less foolproof.
Right. Now the line spacing on all 3 of these machines. So this is 1, 1.5, and 2 on the Safari. This is
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, and the
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know at what point, because this has been a 59 of the Futura line, that they went to the 1, 2, 3, because the internal mechanicals between the 2 portables have a lot in common. There's a lot in common, but they added the 1.5 line spacing on the Safari model a little bit later. And also what I think is kind of interesting is that in the Futura line, the Heritage line, they used these keys here, which are the same type of keys which is used on the Empress. But they also used these, you were calling them the cheese stick.
If you take one of those white cheese sticks and break off a piece, it looks. Anyways, everything comes back to food with me.
Right.
Let's just face it, it does. But yeah, they're a little bit molded, a little deeper, taller, right? Whereas these keys are a little more streamlined.
Right. And it's interesting that throughout the years, they kind of went back and forth between the keys. They used those keys and these keys. Often in all kinds of different models. And personally, I don't think either set of keys is greater or lesser as far as functionality and usability. That one there, you're thinking, well, maybe I don't fall between the keys as easily.
Yeah, maybe.
But these here have, I don't know, because there's a little less key mass there, it kind of gives you the impression of a lighter touch.
Now, they're all 3 what you might call tombstone shaped from the top view, looking down on them. Right, so the front of the key is flat and it kind of makes a rough oval kind of a shape.
And that was a development when they went from the round glass top keys to the round plastic keys. Then they went to this tombstone shape, trying to develop a key that was more comfortable for fingers.
Right.
Because some other brands of typewriters, the tombstone is reversed.
Oh yes, right.
So it all depended on the brand of a typewriter.
So then another thing that I noticed style-wise to these machines, you don't really see but a mere hint of it on the Heritage, is what you call the bezel or the molding around the keyboard. So there's just a little bit of a hint of kind of a molding around the edge on the side of the Heritage. But now you come to the Empress and it has this dramatic kind of sculpted, scalloped, shape with this sharply defined edge that completely surrounds the keyboard. And then you still see this with the Safari. It has that very similar sculpted out shape in here and these edges that clearly define the bezel around the keyboard. I think that's very distinctive to this era of Royal.
Particularly of the early 60s, mid-century modern, where you're getting into and what a lot of would call the Jetson design mode. And the Heritage comes from getting away from that real kind of a boxy shape of the QDLs,
Right.
and they went to this wedge aerodynamic, and then
Right.
when you bring this up, it's a complete wedge going up. And that was a distinctive trait of the Olympias, that kind of that wedge look
Yes.
when you went into the SM7 and from then on.
Yeah, I think they definitely, the complaint I always had with the QDL was the back panel behind the keyboard was too vertical and too close to
Right.
it, where if you're like typing like this, your fingers don't have room. But they did slope that down back a little bit more.
Right. So, and that's one thing with these keys. But you do notice with the Safari that you are real close to that.
Yeah,
that
you are.
panel.
And it overhangs, the lip here overhangs the panel here.
So you can get that
yeah.
the fingernail scraping,
Yeah.
a little bit on that, which pianists have that happen on the fall board of the piano.
Right.
And in that this is a little bit less. You have not a whole lot of distance, but because you don't have that overhang and all that. And,
so another thing I'm noticing while I'm sitting at this angle, maybe the camera can't quite see it, but is the carriage return lever. So it sort of goes. That lever is more sculpted than this one. This one is the most shallow, thin, and then this one gets to be a little bit bigger, but it still has that same royal shape, you will.
Yeah, this is all the same here. It sticks up a little more of an angle. This is more streamlined. Well, this one will push down for going in the case. This one does not. It just folds over.
But then you have the ice cream scoop of the...
which is almost, when you
Empress.
look at it, it's almost like a reversing of this shape.
Of that shape, it just exaggerated also, right?
And of course, you didn't have to fold this down or anything, because
There's no
at
case.
best you would have had a cover.
Right, exactly.
For that machine. And what's interesting too, between this one here, now this one has a carriage lock.
Oh, yes.
And so it will lock the carriage, whereas they didn't have a carriage lock at all.
Interesting.
And then also this has, that has large type guides, plastic type guides that go up and nearly cover and meet
right here.
the erasing table point.
But no paper bail.
No paper bail. Now this one here, you don't have any of those plastic guides. You just have a small guide here in front, and then your card guide was this little thing that would pop up there.
Right, just like a QDL.
But you have a paper bail.
Big paper bail with a scale on it and rubber rollers.
And rubber rollers there. And then you notice on here, there's no plastic type guide here.
And you have the basically KMM or even Royal 10 style card holder fingers that pop up and pop back, and a ruled paper bail with rubber rollers, similar to that one. So anyways, there are three Royals from roughly the same decade or within 10 years of each other. Intended for different target audiences probably, right? I mean, clearly this is a further evolution of the portable philosophy from the Heritage, which gets it back from the QDL and earlier.
But I don't think they were trying to cut corners with the Safari line, because that particular line with that body shape stayed in production on its own for about 10 years within itself.
Well, I do notice...
And they just renamed it.
Right, I do notice on the back there's a sticker that says, Rugged Royal All-Metal Structural Design. A little marketing sticker, which is it's very heavy typewriter. It is for a portable.
Yeah, it was later on when they transitioned the production from the United States to other countries that they started diminishing the quality of the build.
Yeah.
And then also now with the Heritage line, the Futura line, that was in production for maybe not full 10 years, but quite a long time.
Right.
And they did overlap slightly as they were transitioning from one to the other.
Now, it's interesting, the full-size office machine, you have to physically pull off the ribbon cover.
Right.
And also on the Safari, you have to pull off the ribbon cover with almost the same style posts that hold them in place.
Right.
But the Heritage, of course, gets that pop-up thing from the QDL era.
Which Sarah really likes.
Oh, Sarah.
From Just My Typewriter.
Just My Typewriter.
She loves
she
this
likes
feature.
It, yes.
She could probably spend hours just doing that.
That's right.
And this one here is really pretty good. You have a good opening, and you can change the ribbon pretty nicely. But on the KMM model, the earlier models, or the FP models, when you pop that open, it kind of gets in the way.
Right.
The cover, which is really nice about these. When you do pull them off, you've got perfectly great access.
Yeah, full access.
And that's the same with the Safari. Very nice access to being able to get to the typewriter ribbon.
Yeah. Well, this was a very good comparison between three machines from the same rough era, the same era of
Definitely
Royal.
the same era.
two portables and an office machine. And if you were in the market for a typewriter back then, you would be, and you liked Royal, the Royal name, I'm sure one of these three machines would be in your basket, so
Yes,
to
it would
speak.
be.
Yeah.
The styling of these machines is dynamic, at least Royal thought so. And it would be really good that they advertised how well these machines would fit into your office environment or your home environment with the quote of the handsome finish, the non-glare plastic keys, and the modern streamlining of the Royal will enhance the beauty of any office.
It'll enhance.
And that would have been any of these three machines.
That's true. Well, we were struck, of course, by the swooping curves of the Empress.
Right.
And as we mentioned in the video for the Empress, that they certainly remind us of the swooping curves of the first IBM Selectric.
Oh, absolutely.
The so-called Model 1.
Right.
And we don't have it here with us to compare, but we happen to have one in our collection.
Oh, we do.
Yes.
Two. Each of us have one.
Each of us have one, that's right. And you guys haven't seen the one yet that I have. So, yeah, so we were both struck with the curves of the big machine comparing it to the IBM. But you can certainly see, like I say, there's styling similarities between these two. You can see the similarity between the Heritage and the predecessor, the QDL. So certainly a lot of transitioning going on here in the typewriter market. One other feature that we didn't fail to mention earlier was the bichrome setting. In the Heritage, you have to pop the lid open, and it's in the right side there with the ribbon reverse, the manual reversing lever on the left. And this particular Heritage lacks a touch selector because it's not the deluxe version.
Right, that was the other feature that they had with the Deluxe. There was a lever, and I believe it's in this area, that adjusts your touch control.
And then on the Empress, you have your bichrome setting up here that moves horizontally.
Right. So your touch selector's underneath your ribbon
just
spool.
like the KM, I think.
And then here's your manual ribbon reverse.
So, okay.
And your winding disengage.
Your winding disengage, right, which is just right up, all the way back to the Royal 10.
Right.
That feature goes. And then on the Safari, you have your touch control on the left and your bichrome on the right, and they are kind of up and down. So it kind of looks like a stick shift, a floor shifter.
Oh, yeah,
Safari.
yeah.
Maybe there's some automotive styling clues, but these two little knobs kind of have that.
And I don't think the Safari actually had a manual reversing mode. It might have. I would have to pull the lid to see if it does. But
I don't believe it does. No, certainly not this one. Well, not manual.
Not a manual. It has automatic.
Right.
And then, of course, this particular, we have the Royal Twin Pack ribbons, which was a way of buying your ribbon and then installing it without ever touching the ribbon so you wouldn't get dirty.
Right.
And they actually offered that both in the portable size and in the full size for this here. Fortunately, you don't have to use a twin pack. You can use the universal half-inch ribbon spools for the portable, and then the standard Royal spools for the standard machine.
Yes. Well, this is very fun having these three Royals here together. The family. Reunion.
The Royal family.
The Royal family. So we have the, what do we have? The Cult of Hermes.
Cult of Hermes.
Right.
We have the Royal family.
Royal family.
Now, if you're really into Remingtons, and Remington is kind of the outsider now. It originally wasn't, but it's the Remington Rebels.
The Remington Rebels, of course.
And then, of course, if you're really a Smith Corona fan, and of course, if you're a Smith Corona fan, you can only be a fan of the Silent series.
Oh, yes, right, of course.
Yeah, so you have the Smith Corona Silent Superiors.
The Silent Superiors, yeah, that's true.
And then
what can you say? And we're making up more of these as we go along, so you're going to get tired of these. These are like dad jokes, actually.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
So here we are in Idaho with a lineup of Royal typewriters, and I'm Joe. This is Kevin. This was a lot of fun. Drop a comment down below. We'd love to talk to you. And in any event, I hope you stay creative and have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye for now.